The United States defeat in Afghanistan is arguably the worst military defeat in our history. I guess one could say that Vietnam was a greater defeat. There were certainly more Americans' lives lost in Vietnam over a long period of time. But the way that this ended, and in fact ended not only with body bags, but ended with Americans being left behind. Remember, in Vietnam, we got all the Americans out. Later, we recovered bodies, but there were no Americans left behind in Vietnam. And here, there clearly are. And I'll get to that in a minute. What I find so dismaying is not just the defeat itself, but the preposterous effort by the Biden administration to put a kind of happy face on it. In fact, they're making it sound like this was amazing. This was a kind of a triumph of American ingenuity, a massive evacuation. Well, the reason the evacuation was so perilous was because the Biden administration created this problem. This is not a problem foisted upon it. This is a problem devised and orchestrated by the Biden administration. So I saw this on Trending Politics this morning. Debbie showed it to me, and I was it's so appropriate. It goes, this kind of boasting by Jen Psaki and Biden and all their sycophantic admirers in the media, Max Boot, Jennifer, what's her name? But I read in Trending Politics, this is like a doctor claiming that the operation was a total success. Of course, it's a little regrettable that the patient died, but nevertheless, we declare this operation to be completely successful. Well, it's not successful, and everybody can see it. There are so many images that confirm it. Look at the Taliban flying an American helicopter with a human body, dangling from it. It's almost like, here, this is who we are, guys. Take note, as if you didn't know already. And then there's Biden looking at his watch. Now, at first I thought this was Biden looking at his watch one time. Take a quick peek at this. What you see here is the austere ceremony, the caskets arrayed one behind the other. And here's Biden as if to say, hey, why is this taking so long? I kind of got to get out of here. And interestingly, I see from interviews with Gold Star parents that Biden was regularly looking at his watch, as if to say, I can't be bothered with this nonsense. I'm doing it out of a sense of obligation, but I can't wait to get back to my nap, or I can't wait to get back to whatever. And other parents who met with Biden said things like, if they would blast him for American inaction or for America's blunders, Biden would roll his eyes as if to say, here we go again. Okay, well, I guess I got to endure this. So this is our commander-in-chief. He just doesn't care. To him, it's all a big nuisance. To be honest, I'm not even sure if he cares about Beau Biden. He keeps bringing up Beau Biden. Oh, Beau Biden, I understand because of Beau Biden. Well, first of all, nobody cares about Beau Biden. I don't even think Joe Biden cares. You know why? If he really cared, he wouldn't use Beau Biden as a shield to protect him from the consequences of his own decisions. But that's exactly what he has been doing. Now, try to imagine, quite apart from the suffering of the Gold Star parents, imagine being an American left behind in Afghanistan. You're a guy who sort of signed up for your country. You wanted to fight back after 9/11. You went on the basis that America doesn't leave Americans behind. Biden said that very recently in his interview with Stephanopoulos. We're not going to leave any Americans behind. Really? Well, you just did. How many? Well, the government is trying to fool with the numbers here. And initially they said, well, the number's kind of in the low hundreds. Then they said, well, sort of 100 to 200. And then they said, well, that's the count of the Americans who want to get out, as if to say, we might have left back several more, but they don't really want to leave. Now I'm trying to think to myself, really? Are you saying that there are Americans who sort of want to live under Taliban rule? Americans who are identified as the crusader and the infidel, living under a regime where their lives will be in constant danger. And how do we know that their lives are in constant danger? Well, here's a report in the Daily Mail. Taliban is going around Kabul now, pinning letters on the doors of people who are suspected to be either Americans or American allies. In other words, Afghans who are supportive of America, basically saying, listen, we're going to give you a date to show up in a Taliban court. But if you don't show up in a Taliban court, you will automatically be given the death penalty. So this is the fate awaiting not just Afghan collaborators, but awaiting terrified Americans in Afghanistan. And the United States is basically like Pilate, washing our hands off the matter. Our last plane is already out of there. And then if you can believe it, and this is only intended to be sort of the cruel topping of the whole thing, we also left behind a whole bunch of military dogs. So these are, and then here's the American Humane Society condemning this. They go, wait a minute, these are helpless animals. They're now at the mercy of the Taliban. Are you sure why did we do this? This was not something we had. The dogs were left in cages right at the Kabul airport. Like, we don't need to, you don't take the dogs. Let's go. So this is basically how Biden is. Now, let's think about it. Jimmy Carter had a hostage crisis. By the way, a hostage crisis that he couldn't solve himself. It went on and on and on. I don't know if you remember Walter Cronkite, the other anchors, day 56, day 89. It goes on, and it was only when Reagan came in, it took a Republican president coming in for this crisis to end. Unfortunately, there's no Republican president on the horizon now. And what this means is that it's not clear whether those Americans that Biden left behind in Afghanistan, sadly, are ever coming home.